Hello, good morning. Happy Friday. It's 9:45. I'm TK and this is Coach on the Rocks. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Give me a wave and a comment if you're here. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you're watching this recording, hopefully, as the recruiters say, it finds you well. I love Fridays, although it's a bit of a busy one for me today, but hey, it is what it is. So, as you might know, if you're a regular watcher or of my show, Fridays is the day when we release our podcast episode, Leading with Agility, on your favorite podcast player. So just search for it. It should be on all the major podcast players. Let me know if it isn't on yours. And today is a special episode because this is the last episode of our first season, and it's been a time for us to reflect on how we've done, our favorite episodes, and look into the future. You might be asking yourself, TK, do you really need to have seasons when you're producing a weekly podcast? We don't. There's no technical reason to have these seasons. In fact, at first I thought, oh, that's a relic of the olden days when they produce TV shows and such in batches, or they had theater plays which were there for a season and then people took off for the summer holidays and they rebuilt and there was a new thing. Not an expert, not a screenwriter, Hollywood person, but one thing I definitely appreciated outside of the lack of technical reasons is the ability to reflect and iterate. Because the point that I wanted to make today is if you can make your job in such a way that you can continuously improve and iterate, you will be much better. So for us, when it comes to the podcast, obviously, this is a great way of us to reinvent things for season 2. I'll talk about it some more later on this stream. But if, for instance, you work in L&D or HR, you might be in a place that you work operationally, and every year, every day, every week, every month seems to be roughly the same. You're just doing your stuff. Now, that's actually not a problem because the world has worked like that for ages, but there's an opportunity that you can exploit. If you can make your work iteratable, you will have a natural ability to look back at what you've done and do it better next time or improve the way you work. This is crucial and absolutely important if, for the modern world, for the agile leadership, for just being able to stay competitive and performant. Now, if you work in these situations, what is it that you can do? Well, I think, L&D is an interesting one because chances are you run programs. They might be annual, they might be shorter than that. My personal opinion is if you do so, make sure that after each you really, really reflect and really see what is it that you can rethink. Don't go into the temptation of going and doing the same thing again because it's convenient, because you know it, right? You can always change things. And I think it's worthwhile thinking about it because even if you don't, this will hopefully encourage you to do things better. Same in HR, right? There's, I've spoken multiple times about these yearly programs that are there, like, employee satisfaction surveys, employee improvements, all the cycle of getting these development conversations, appraisals, and so on. Improve, take this opportunity. For many of you that, if you're an agilist, like a yearly cycle, a yearly iteration is laughable, some would say, but it's still an iteration. And these processes have been in place for centuries, some would say, right? People were doing this kind of work. So, even though it's not optimal, it might make sense. To be honest, if there were companies that would be able to outcompete people by iterating quicker, they would have done so by now. Quicker iterations have been around for a while, and yet, despite of what you might want to say, the annual cycle of some things, despite the fact that I don't think it's always great, is here to stay. I'll be honest, myself, running a consultancy, maybe I do benefit from the yearly cycle from time to time, right? That, I have some form of stability. If a company hires us to help them with an annual program, I know what's going to happen. I can plan it. I can plan my hires. I can plan my teams. I can plan my investment. And yeah, well, people need security from time to time. I don't think, totally discouraging a yearly iteration is the worst thing ever. I'm not a huge fan. We can do things better, but we can also work with that, right? But even if it's the yearly iteration, don't neglect this opportunity to reinvent things. Don't just dust off the old things and go through the same thing again. Do things differently. We will most certainly be doing things differently in season 2. There will be more guests. There'll be some slight changes, which you will see. I will encourage you to listen to our final episode of season 1, which is released today on your favorite podcast player. Leading with Agility is our podcast. And we're going to be releasing season 2, the first episode of season 2, at the beginning of September. I think the 6th of September is the first Friday, so it probably will be there. And but stay tuned. Watch the space, because we'll be posting about season 2 for the coming weeks, so we get you excited. But I'm also hoping that you're excited for the coming weekend, and I'll hopefully be able to see you again on Monday in the next episode of Coach on the Rocks. Thank you, and bye-bye.